l'integrazione delle SDGs nei processi decisionali a vari livelli e di un coinvolgimento e impegno adeguato di diversi attori statali e non. La gestione della presente complessità con molteplici crescenti in atto è un esercizio estremamente complesso in cui il ricorso a diversi strumenti programmatici e strategici rendono particolarmente impegnativo il compito di garantire la coerenza, l'uniformità e l'efficacia. In questo contesto, l'Italia ha riconosciuto il rafforzamento della coerenza delle politiche dello sviluppo sostenibile quale prerequisito fondamentale da raggiungere attraverso meccanismi di cooperazione istituzionale e multiattore. Particolare enfasi è stata posta proprio sui meccanismi trasformativi di governance sia a livello centrale, con la creazione di un meccanismo interministeriale di dialogo e coordinamento per l'integrazione delle politiche nell'ottica della sostenibilità, sia a livello locale, con il pieno coinvolgimento degli enti territoriali i vari momenti di direzione e valutazione delle politiche centrali. Attraverso questo programma l'obiettivo è quello di istituire un sistema di relazione multilivello che agisca sul ciclo delle politiche, valorizzando la rete di attori esistenti, compresi gli attori non statali riuniti nel forum nazionale per lo sviluppo sostenibile. In questo modo il rafforzamento della coerenza delle politiche rappresenta sia un principio da cui trarre ispirazione per innovare i processi attraverso i quali le istituzioni pubbliche mandano le disposizioni, sia uno strumento concreto a disposizione per tale. È in questo contesto che accogliamo con favore gli sforzi profusi dalla rete di imprese aderenti alla UN Global Compact che stanno implementando l'integrazione della sostenibilità all'interno dei propri meccanismi di governance, quale prerequisito fondamentale per poter orientare il business in modo sostenibile. Auspichiamo che i vostri spunti e le vostre esperienze concrete in coerenza con gli sforzi istituzionali intrapresi possano fungere da stimolo e ispirare altri in percorso verso una governance trasformativa, contribuendo a rafforzare il ruolo del settore privato quale promotore, sia all'interno dell'azienda che nella società generale, del cambiamento sociale, ambientale ed economico necessario al raggiungimento degli obiettivi. Grazie.
And I would like to join the excellencies of our
Thank you very much, Dr. Daniela, and let me just acknowledge the great collaboration as we're preparing for the opportunities. And let me please recognize Mr. Barrow, Mr. Ruby, my dear colleague and friend, Ambassador Musami, and Ms. Sandaris Jambo, and folks achieving peace from South Africa. I would like to thank the Commission, of course, the distinguished delegates and the I would thank the Mission of Italy for hosting us today, and thank all of you for being here. And with many events that are currently underway, but you chose to be here with us in this side. So thank you for being here. It's really appreciated. Italy and South Africa partnered with Global Compact and Switzerland to pay closer attention to the topic of transformational governance as a driver of responsible business and more ambitious ambition. We did so because both our networks are really incredibly much in ensuring meaningful private sector engagement. And I want to congratulate the Italian network for the excellent position paper together, which enables us to deeper discussion of the issue, sharing knowledge and experiences. Responsible business, meaningful partnerships with the business community, the technology challenges is fundamental and a non-negotiable. Here at the US, we talk about network materialism. The network materialism will be incomplete without the meaningful participation of the finance. Addressing the most pressing needs today, whether it is financing of the SMGs, closing the digital divide, ensuring access to clean energy, providing or quality health requires robust ecosystems. The private sector is central to those ecosystems, bringing competence and much needed resources. As we all know, our governments cannot address these challenges alone. We cannot achieve the needed transitions that we all talk about here in the UN without the partnerships of the private sector. But also, the private sector is most innovative and they are committed to coming up with solutions. In engaging the private sector is guided by the environmental, social, and governance principles. This is what enables us to develop trust in them. And we are very pleased that through the UN Global Compact, the private sector is in this endeavor. I dealt with the issue of engaging the private sector when together with Luxembourg and Spain, the two PRs, we co-facilitated the high-level dialogue on financing for development in 2023 and the ministerial declaration on financing for development this year. The issue we were seized with was coming up with solutions for debt crisis that the world is seized with. And what we realized is that the debt crisis was underpinned by severe lack of trust in international financial institutions, which, despite numerous initiatives such as the switch-off window, resilience and sustainability trust, and the G20 common framework for debt treatment, all of those could not adequately address the concerns of many countries. Against this backdrop, the private sector is seen as a partner that should be engaged in helping the challenges of affordable finance, debt sustainability, and other innovative instruments that can make an impact on the financing for development member states. But in doing that, the private sector must be guided by the G in the ESG. As part of ESG investment strategy, transformational governance is also an important metric for responsible business that seeks to improve ESG performance and strengthen public institutions, laws, and systems. If the world continues developing its current environmentally assisted and sustainable trajectories, there might be no people, no planet, and certainly no business to do. It is therefore important that the private sector contribute to all transitions to investment in and use of environmentally friendly business practices. For South Africa, we have the responsibility to create an enabling environment for the private sector. Just energy transition partnerships are fast becoming a good model national decarbonization initiatives. South Africa has established a just transition framework to ensure that climate actions adhere to principles of procedural, restorative, and distributive justice. However, it will be the private sector that ultimately delivers each just energy transition project in the medium and long term, both in terms of financing and in the process. As a country, we are committed to build resilience to the impact of climate change and reducing our emissions in ways that are appropriate to our national circumstances. To conclude, ESG practice is an important business strategy at the disposal of the private sector, which can assist in rebuilding trust between itself and the people. And this can be done through anchoring the ESG strategy in transformational. And my sister will provide more examples of how this is implemented on the ground in South Africa. Once again, I thank you all for being here and look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Joini, for your opening remarks. And now I'm very pleased to give the floor to Sandal Jaco, Assistant Secretary and CEO, United Nations Global. Over to you.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody gathered in the room. A good morning, afternoon, or evening to those who are joining. Excellencies, the Undersecretary Barbaro, Minister of State Ruby, Ambassadors President, our good friends, Ambassador Masari, Ambassador Joini, Thank you for your continued collaboration and support of the work of the Global Compact. My dear colleagues from Italy, Daniela, and from South Africa, Chen, I think us being here together really demonstrates the type of strong partnerships and exchange and collaboration that we have within the Global Compact. Let me congratulate the Global Compact Network in Italy for launching this position paper on transformation governance, which called, as you will see through the paper, on the business community to be more accountable, more ethical, more inclusive, and more transparent. It means really going beyond the concept of corporate governance as we know it, to really look at the impact that companies have on environments, on communities, and redefining the role of the private sector within the social contract. You may recall that the UN Global Compact was founded in the year 2000, when the then Secretary General Kofi Annan challenged the business community to come together with the United Nations in a compact that would demonstrate the human face of global markets. And our work has continued very much in the concept and the spirit of a social contract, shared values and principles between business, governments, and civil society. And indeed, as we reflect on the upcoming Summit of the Future and the focus on a renewed and strengthened multilateralism, a social contract is very much at the heart of that. The Global Compact is headquartered here in New York. We have over 20,000 participating companies. We have country networks in over 60 countries worldwide, of course, including Italy and South Africa. And we now have regional hubs in Denmark, in Thailand, in the United Arab Emirates, in Panama, and in Nigeria. We believe that being closer to our businesses and closer to societies will help us strengthen our commitment towards that social contract. But as our movement has grown, so has the need for business leadership in the face of the unprecedented crises and geopolitical uncertainty. We all know that in this year, 2024, half of the world's population, 4 billion people, more than 60 countries, have held or will pick national elections. This is more than simply a vote in the ballot box. Potential changes in government will shape geopolitics, they will impact trade and investment, they'll impact policies such as climate and inclusion, and they will highlight the need for a strong multilateral and multi-stakeholder approach to the world's issues. And at the same time, we have seen how political, social, racial, digital, and economic gaps are widening around the world. And against all of this, one thing is clear. Our current economic models are outdated and unsustainable. And so for the private sector, repositioning in this new social contract based on more equitable and inclusive prosperity is absolutely essential. So to support companies integrating transformative governance across operations, we've developed a number of tools and initiatives. And I'd like to highlight just a few of them, which I think lend weight and support to Italy's paper. We have our SDG 16 business framework to support peace, justice, and strong institutions. We have a playbook on anti-corruption collective actions and our newly launched corporate toolkit on transformational governance. At the global level, we developed a call to action to business and government on the 20th anniversary of the UN Convention Against Corruption, which was signed by companies from 91 countries. The call to action was presented as a conference of state parties to the UN Convention Against Corruption in December in Atlanta, in partnership with our friends at the UN Office for Drugs and Crime. In addition, we contributed to the re-establishment of a B20 task force on integrity and compliance. And finally, we've established a think lab on business integrity, a roundtable of business leaders to develop new guidelines for programs that address corporate sustainability through a transformational governance. We prepare to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Principle 10 on anti-corruption, and we know that strong public-private partnerships are crucial to implementing transformational governance. We know that the Ministry of Environment and Energy Security of Italy, the Italian Permanent Mission, and our Italian network are working together to engage the 600 Italian businesses in advancing the SDGs and the Paris Agreement. We are grateful for that effort and that support. So I look forward to the discussions today. This is a first step for building multilateral, multi-stakeholder effort to advance governance for the global business community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Sandra, for your endorsement to the event and to our position paper on transformation and governance. Allow me and Global Compact Network Italy's chairman, Marco Frey, share with you some insights of this work. Marcus, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniela, and thank you also to the distinguished speakers and guests who are attending the event. Today is a special day for us, as we are launching a position paper on transformational governance. The document has been developed by a group of more than 50 Italian UNGC business participants. I take this occasion to thank them for their contribution and active participation to the work we coordinated in the first month of the year. The paper describes the transformational governance approach, strongly rooted in the goal 16 of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In the UNGC 10 principles and in the work of the UNGC Think Lab on transformational governance. The document analyzes transformational governance as a key driver to achieve sustainability targets in an integrated perspective of business planning and purpose orientation. Purpose represents the values and vision that constitute a company's true identity, its objective and organizational and operational methods of achieving them. The purpose, together with the assessment of risks and opportunities, defines the role that the company gives to the environmental and social aspects, its model of corporate governance, and its strategy for the pursuit of sustainability. A purpose in which sustainability is considered a driver of competitiveness, goes beyond the logic of risk management, and fully embraces value creation. The concept of transformational governance can be applied inside and outside the operational scope of a company. In the paper, we, indeed, investigate the internal and external dimensions of transformational governance approach. Internally, it is important to act on values and culture, employee training and engagement, development of strategies, policies, and processes aligned with sustainability, including ethics and compliance programs, contractual provisions, due diligence, grievance mechanism, internal control, and risk management systems, reporting. Companies should apply the model that organizational literature has termed transformational leadership, an approach aimed at creating an environment in which the members of the organization feel motivated to achieve, as a part of a collective effort, individual goals along with common objectives. In this, they are inspired, stimulated, and incentivized by a top management that focus on building strong team capable of achieving long-term sustainable results. The primary governance role is held by the board of directors, which guides the company while pursuing its sustainable success, defining the strategies of the company and its group and monitoring their fulfillment through executive leadership. In recent years, the scope of corporate governance has expanded, along with the increasing of directors' responsibilities. In addition to the traditional corporate issues, Board of Directors agenda increasingly includes topics such as due diligence and human rights, diversity, equity and inclusion, climate change, and net zero programs. Board must respond to systemic changes that refine the concept of risk and opportunities management, considering double materiality, proposing a vision of businesses resilience that is based on sustainability. In this critical role, Board of Directors can be advanced by an internal or external committees with advisory role on sustainability-related issues. The assignment of new sustainability-related responsibility to the Board of Directors raises the issue of the expertise required to fulfill their operational management. Embedding these extended skill sets within the Board of Directors is crucial and tends to occur in two ways. The first is the inclusion of sustainability skills criteria as a part of a director nomination processes or as a part of the ongoing board's guidance for the new board. The second is the establishment of a periodic induction programs on sustainability issues as soon as the board of directors takes office. In addition to consolidating sustainability expertise within top management teams, appropriate skills must be acquired and developed by all companies' employees in different divisions, not only sustainability department, but also functions as procurement, human resources, compliance, finance, communication, R&D, HS&D, legal, corporate governance are the key to support the spread and effective implementation of a corporate sustainability culture. I leave to Daniela sharing the main insights of the paper regarding the external dimension of transformational governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I need a small mic for the presentation. The transformational governance approach specifically calls on companies to look beyond the internal scope and to focus on their ability to become change makers in society. The actions that companies can undertake with reference to the external dimension concern stakeholder engagement, including suppliers, customers, consumers, civil society, local communities, and investors. The ability to build multi-stakeholder partnership and participate in collective actions, advocacy, and lobby initiatives to promote homogeneous regulatory frameworks and taxonomies that facilitate business while ensuring transparency and accountability through shared indicators. This last action is extremely relevant as it can support governments in monitoring and reporting on the achievement of sustainable development goals. The external dimension is crucial for companies because it enables them to generate positive impact through the implementation of sustainability strategies and goals. It's essential that the interaction between the external and internal sphere is regulated through governance. The dialogue with stakeholders is of fundamental importance and is one of the priority issues of corporate governance. Listening to stakeholders is crucial, both because the positive and negative impacts on the company activities affect external actors, and because maintaining good relations with them is extremely relevant to achieving the company's sustainability-related goals. Stakeholder engagement is also at the heart of the recent European directives, the so-called CSRD, focused on the double materiality and the impacts companies can have outside, but also inside at financial level. And the involvement of stakeholders is so crucial for an adequate due diligence process. And here we are referring to the CSRD, the new directive on the due diligence that has to do with the social dimension, but also with the climate ones. Among the different categories of stakeholders, some are extremely relevant to business: suppliers, customer, consumer, sector organization, and finance. Companies are also increasingly recognizing institutions and governments as key stakeholders. Businesses build partnership with them, recognizing their role as enablers in development programs, especially for implementing projects that have a high value. Institutions can help companies to penetrate markets that would be otherwise difficult to cover. Such alliances also offer them recognition as social actors in specific regions and contexts. For a complete example, SDGs 17, which recognize effective public-private and civil society partnerships as important vehicles for mobilizing, sharing knowledge, expertise, technologies, and financial resources to support the achievement of sustainable development goals. We are delighted that the government, the advisory company, and private sector entities in different regions demonstrating that joint efforts are needed to scale up ambition and move forward faster towards the development agenda. And now we would like to listen in our roundtable through the experience of companies, also non-business organizations, and global compact network on how transformational governance can scale up the ambition of climate responsibility. I would like to welcome Alexandra Bolton, Director of Climate Governance Initiative, Fatima Newman, Group Executive in CHQOH, Karen Askin, Director Sustainable Business and Social Impact at Safaricom, Harry Scott, Head Sustainability and ESG Officer at Novartis, and Antonio Ogle, Executive Director of Global Corporate Network Switzerland and Liechtenstein, who are joining the event online. Welcome also Megan Borgard, Chief Legal Officer, Secretary, Head of Policy and Regulatory Affairs, USA and Canada, and North Africa, and Acheng Chuang, Executive Director, Global Compact Network South Africa, who are here in person. So coming to our question, I would like to start with Alexandra Bolton. Climate Governance Initiative is a non-profit organization that empowers chairs, non-executive and independent directors to tackle climate action by enhancing their knowledge and skills in climate governance. Alexandra, please share your perspective on challenges and opportunities on these issues, highlighted also in chapter 5 of our paper presented today.
So firstly, thank you so much for having me here. It's a real honour. The Climate Governance Initiative works with independent directors asking, what if every board had climate targets and a plan to reach them? And we work through a community of 32 chapters in 73 countries. And I'm pleased to say Italy was our very first chapter, launched in 2019. So what are the barriers to boards taking climate action? We know, as Mark Carney said, the vision and action of directors is fundamental to addressing the risks posed by climate change and delivering a smooth transition to a low carbon economy. But what are the barriers? What do we need to have for boards to be able to take forward both the risks and the opportunities and act on climate? Well, we know that we have to have the right skills and experience on the board. And that doesn't mean that every board member needs to be a climate expert, just as you would not expect every board member to be an accountant. But every board member needs to have sufficient knowledge to be able to ask questions and the freedom to be able to ask those questions on the board. We need to have diversity on the board of experience, of expertise, of thought. And we need those board members to ask those difficult questions and to be able to think in systems and not in silos. We also need the board structure to give climate the right priority. And we know that there are many things bombarding our board members, from AI through to climate, through to nature loss, through to the more traditional things like profitability and shareholders. So we need our boards to ensure that climate consequences, risks and opportunities are embedded into every decision of the board as a matter of course, rather than just having it as an added extra only considered perhaps in a side committee or group. Those committees on sustainability are incredibly important and it needs to be considered in the main board. Thirdly, we need to change the mindsets of boards. Climate change is indeed one of the grand challenges of our time, but it's also one of the greatest opportunities. By embracing these opportunities, by seeking to provide the goods and services that are solutions to climate change, boards can make both sound investment decisions with strong ROI and play their part in being the solution. And none of this can be done alone. One of the things that was most apparent for us at a recent CGI meeting of transformational NED directors is just how vital it is to work collaboratively, to break down those silos, to learn from your peers and to share learning broadly. So for me, it's about realizing the opportunities as well as managing the risk. And by focusing on skills, the structure and the mindsets of boards, and by collaborating, boards can play a really pivotal role in tackling the climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra, for your insights. Board of directors with sustainability expertise is a key element of transformational leadership. This issue has been well investigated in the Think Lab on Transformational Governance, an international working group led by UNGC. We are delighted to have in this roundtable 3 companies engaged in this working group. The Italian company Enel, here represented by Megan Burgard, the South African EOH, represented by Fatima Newman, and Kenyan Safaricom, represented by Megan. How Enel governance is supporting the climate strategy of the company, and how can you disseminate climate ambition targets to the different companies that Enel has at worldwide level?
Thank you so much. And let me just start by saying thank you to the UNGC in Italy for having a now present at this very distinguished table, and congratulations on your position paper launch. We were excited to be here today. I would say initially in response to your question, sustainability and climate action is part of the DNA at Enel. It's a piece of everything that we do. And it is written directly into our corporate governance documents. We do have that type of committee at our board level, which has proven to be a very key element in carrying out our requirements throughout our company, throughout the world, not just in Italy, but everywhere. I think we find that our commitment to climate action and sustainability is contagious. Not only within our company itself, but how we deploy our resources throughout Italy, the United States, and everywhere else. And that our suppliers want to be our suppliers because of our commitments there. We have measured how we have impacted climate change. We've reported on that consistently, and we've held ourselves accountable to make sure that we're coming through with what we're saying, and our boards and our leadership is also involved very significantly in making those decisions. And those run down to the very new folks that come in to Enel and all the way up to the top. And we source our items and our suppliers, our customers.
Thank you, Megan, for your fruitful insights. I turn it over to Karen now. We see that Safaricom has joined the Forward Faster initiative with the 4 out of 5 meetings. So congratulations for your effort. Focusing on climate, can you share some concrete action on just transition which involve external key stakeholders as supplier and local community? How these projects are rooted in governance?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity and the question. Indeed, at Safaricom, we joined the Forward Faster movement, and we've taken 4. So we're working on living wage, reducing the inequalities in our business and operations because we want to build more resilient supply chains. We've done the finance and investment. We want to be able to track, report, because what gets measured gets managed. We've committed to gender equality, and congratulations, Sandra, for the launch of the gender statement at the Africa Business Leaders in the CEO Forum in Kigali. So we are part of this and part of the climate ambition. So if now I focus on the climate action, here at Safaricom, we're accelerating our net zero ambition through setting science-based net zero targets. We are taking tangible actions towards reducing our emissions. And I just want to share some concrete actions that we have done that involve external stakeholders. So the first one is we are a telecommunication company. And on this side of the world, the grid is not very stable. So as a business, we had to make the conscious decision of having, at that time when we were set up, diesel generators. So as a business, we decided to get rid of the diesel generators and do solar, because 3/4 of the year, the weather is perfect in Nairobi for solarization. So we have started solarizing, and so far we have solarized more than 1,400 of our best transceiver stations. And by 2025, we want to be able to generate solar powered energy at 50% of our sites. So in this transition and solarization, we've been able to offer green jobs. We've been able to partner with suppliers within Kenya and outside Kenya to transfer this knowledge so that we get this going. And for the people where we realized we have an opportunity was to help the Kenyans who were still using biofuels and fossil fuels. Let me say fossil fuels. They were using kerosene and they were using wood to cook. So we partnered with a company called MGAS to give a pay-as-you-go cooking solution. As a business, we've learned that our economy, many people can only afford $1 a day or live below the $1 a day. So there's no way you'll expect this person to be able to afford a full gas cylinder or electricity to cook. So now we offer them pay-as-you-go. We have metered the gas, and so they can pay for maybe 0.2 of the dollar and use it to cook that day, because this is the reality of the economy. Over and above this, we have partnered with the Kenya Forest Service. We've partnered with the Kenya government. The Kenya government has an ambitious plan to grow 15 billion trees in the next 10 years. They found us on a journey of growing 5 million trees, and the 5 million trees were to increase livelihood, to be part of our offset program, to be part of the biodiversity and the restoration of degraded ecosystems, and to support the communities that live around the forest. So Safaricom made that ambitious commitment that we will grow 5 million trees, and to date we have grown 1.5, and we are accelerating this. We realized that we can never just do these things for ourselves, so together with the government, we were able to develop an application. We call it Jaza Miti in Swahili, which means fill the trees. We are a tech company. We've given the government a platform and the Kenyans where if you grow a tree, then you can take a photo, GPRS exactly, geomark where the tree is, so that the government may be able to count these trees as we are doing this for carbon credits in future. As a business, we believe in decarbonizing ourselves and decarbonizing our society. So we've been working on decarbonization. We have partnered with Mr. Green Africa to test a digital green points system. So this system helps address carbon reduction and carbon removal and avoidance at the same time. So we encourage recycling. So as a customer, when you come in, you recycle plastic. For every kilogram, you are given a cash back reward, and we use our mobile money ecosystem, M-Pesa, to be able to do this. So this program, we've managed to recycle 6,000 tons of plastic, and it has 7,000 active users. So now we don't have established take-back systems like Europe to take back the plastic. So here we've decided to do it in a small scale, and now we are expanding, and we hope to take this platform across Africa. We have done innovations that support climate around DigiFarm. DigiFarm is digital farming, where we use Internet of Things, big data analytics to help smallholder farmers improve agricultural efficiency, because we strongly believe if we improve agricultural efficiency, it will ultimately help reduce greenhouse gases. So we have created an agricultural platform that is digital and looks at agriculture end-to-end, financing, information, weather, insurance, and that kind of thing. Over and above that, we realized that there are also many smallholder tree farmers who don't know where to start to get into the voluntary carbon markets. So together with a partner called Cavex, we developed a carbon trading platform that now we can help connect those who have the offsets, who are the small farmers, with those who want to buy to offset. And so with this, we have also embedded in it with our M-Pesa Africa office. We've embedded in it carbon financing using M-Pesa, and we want to do this across sub-Saharan Africa to support all those who want to be in the voluntary carbon market but have no idea of how to get there. Over and above this, together with UNEP, we also partner with the UN We've worked with UNEP to develop an air quality monitoring system so that it can give you accurate analysis, management of air pollutants. So the spirit of this is to let people know that maybe in certain area, there's lots of traffic congestion. Please be mindful of the pollution, or if you're environmentally conscious, you get environmental data, and then you can decide to make the decision whether to drive, to carpool, and such kind of things. So as a business, our spirit is to decarbonize ourselves as well as decarbonizing society. And this is our contribution towards the climate agenda. So over the above, we use all the governance processes and procedures that we have in place to ensure that these projects and these initiatives do contribute to concrete actions on climate, and that we have accepted that as a business, we cannot fight climate alone. We do not have the skills, so we need other people. And that's why you will find us partnering with Sanda there, the United Nations Global Compact at the global level. We partner with the local network, and we've been very, very active in this partnership. So we believe that if we want to go far, we'll go with others. And if we wanted to go fast, would have gone alone. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Karen, for your inspiring experience. And now hand it over to Carrie Scott. She works for Novartis, a multinational company belonging to the pharma and biotechnology sector. Carrie, how is your governance structure with particular focus on board and management, and how this structure is supporting your climate targets? I remind you 5 minutes, Carrie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for convening this important session and for inviting me today to share a few words about corporate governance. Good corporate governance of ESG at the board and management level is fundamental, I believe, to meeting an organization's objectives on environmental and social impact. I think it's especially important for organizations who aim not for a sustainability plan, but for a business plan that's sustainable. Thank you for the question on how we're structuring our governance with particular focus on the board and management. I would like to share 3 key experiences from my personal experience at Novartis, which is a global pharmaceutical company headquartered in Switzerland. I'm also pleased to be a member of the UN Global Compact Network, Switzerland and Liechtenstein, working with Antonio and his team. So first, a change in the organizational regulations of the board. That was really key for us. We took all of our material topics and integrated those into the appropriate board committees. That way we could clarify the responsibilities for ESG risk in the risk committee, or ESG compensation into the compensation committee, into the audit committee, and so on. We also clarified the responsibilities of the full board so that they are able to more clearly steer and endorse the overall direction and targets. Second is around upskilling board members. That we do through our ongoing education and training sessions, and we work with the nominations committee to integrate material ESG factors into the nomination process for future board members. And finally, management structures should also support the integration of sustainability, of course, into compensation, incentives, risk management frameworks, policies, ethics and compliance programs, but also integrated into company purpose. In our case, our CEO leads our ESG committee, which is a subcommittee of our executive management committee. This subcommittee actually includes 75% of the full executive committee, and our CEO leads this group, which meets every other month. And this keeps then the topic really front and center with the management group. This governance setup helps us meet our ambitious target climate for net zero by 2040, and to help improve health equity by having all of our medicines launched with an access strategy to reach more underserved patients. So that's a few comments from my personal experience on good corporate governance. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Carrie. Now I would like to leave the floor to Fatima from EOH It's a company active in software and computer services with a low environmental footprint. It has a significant role to play in creating governance solutions to support innovation and new technology to improve the efficiency and sustainability of other companies' operations, products, and services. Could you please share a concrete example with high impact?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity, and a massive congratulations on the many months of work that culminated in this session. From our perspective, we used the crisis that we were undergoing in the organization from a bribery and corruption perspective, firstly internally to address our needs from a ongoing governance and a compliance perspective, through a very detailed and long, significant change program in the organization on the basis of linking KPIs from a right of the people on the ground and working on projects, right through how we measured and reported back on that from a board perspective. I guess very similar to the previous speakers, that if we couldn't measure it, we couldn't report on it, and we couldn't hold people accountable. Our example internally translated into a significant amount of people having to exit the organization, A, because they were not fit for the role, B, they didn't clearly understand what was required from a governance perspective, and I think more importantly, linked to the purpose and the vision of the organization going forward, is how do we translate governance into an opportunity? So if you run your business well, how do you establish trust with customers, and how do you turn that into an opportunity and an advantage, as opposed to it being a hindrance from a compliance point of view? What we then realized, and specifically operating in a South African context, and specifically from an economic standpoint, that a lot of organizations were struggling with very similar issues, and being in a space where we were productizing solutions from a technology standpoint, how the approach internally was, how do we assist our customers to do something similar? So one of the examples that we want to share from a high impact point of view is one of our customers in the energy space, and how we utilized advanced technologies in ensuring compliance for them from a standard practice and an operation point of view across the operation. So they a multinational, they operate across multiple geographies, and their concern was in a South African standpoint, where a lot of the organizations are looking to employ the same pool of resources. We are really struggling from an experience perspective in terms of people understanding what we need to deliver, in particular from a climate change, and having signed up from a sustainability perspective, how do we do that? What we then did with this particular client was we tried to unpack from a board point of view and a management and an ExCo perspective, what are the issues that you are struggling with from an ESG and from a governance point of view. And there were a couple of examples that they played back to us. And those were the things that we journeyed with the customer on, and came up with some really nice solutions for them. So the one example was the focus being leveraging advanced technologies to drive innovation and transformation across all of their operations. That particular example, we used AI and generative AI in particular to optimize their respective processes, predict some of their maintenance needs, and improve on that overall operational efficiencies. These technologies then simulated different scenarios and helped the board and the ExCo and the management team on identifying optimal strategies for enhancing productivity and reducing waste in particular. So we worked back from the actual KPI and the outcome that the respective teams were being held accountable for, and worked back on that. And then from a digital transformation point of view, we deployed digital twin technology for this particular client, allowing the creation of virtual models of physical assets for real-time monitoring and optimization. thereby significantly improving efficiency and asset management in the areas where there were specific issues. So it wasn't a generalized approach that we employed. It was very specific examples that we worked on in terms of this is the root cause of the issue and the problem statement that we're trying to solve. And then working back from a KPI point of view and what the deliverables were from a board point of view. Then from an operational excellence point of view, the focus was enhancing operational efficiency and sustainability through using integrated technology solutions. And the two things we did on that front was smart energy management and implementing smart energy management systems using IoT and AI to monitor and optimize energy consumption in a real-time basis. That was done in the context of the continuous blackouts in a South African context, having to run massive generators and backup power. And so from a technology point of view, reducing the operational costs and significantly lowering their carbon footprint, aligning with the sustainability goals. From a green IT practice point of view, we deployed energy efficient data centers and optimizing the actual IT infrastructure to achieve the energy savings that they had committed from a contractual perspective to all of their customers, and from a board perspective to reduce the environmental impact and to increase their savings on that front. And the final example was from a financial excellence, the focus being running financial compliance through optimized resource management. So that was the specific ask. And what we introduced there was software asset management, streamlining software license management in particular with solutions like App Clarify, which is one of the tools we utilize in our toolbox, ensuring compliance and optimizing usage. And this resulted in significant cost savings and improving regulatory compliance for them. And then there was a cost optimization component to utilizing predictive AI and process optimization, helping them reduce operational costs and enhancing financial performance, which again was linked to actual KPIs all the way from board level right down to people on the ground. There was a couple of other initiatives that we worked on them subsequent to that, but that was the starting point of how do we help our customers based on what we've learned and what we've done in our environment, and how do we, this change program did become something that became a constant in the organization, and we continually work with that customer and have introduced massive cost savings, have improved their operational efficiencies across the board, from a target perspective in terms of managing their carbon footprint and managing those respective metadata metrics. All of that's gone very well, and we continue working with them. And where we find ourselves currently is we've almost built a bit of a energy academy in terms of having formed an intelligence around that, and we are extending that into further industries such as telcos, banks, other financial services from an insurance perspective in terms of losses, etc. So the data analytics component and using data as a service and as a source for intelligent decision making was a really, really positive case study in our case, and we continue to be working very closely with our energy customer.
Thank you, Fatima, for your insights. Very interesting to hear about all the innovations you bring into sustainability for companies. In the final section of our roundtable, I would like to involve the two country networks of UN Global Compact, South Africa and Switzerland. The executive director would like to give the floor before to Chen, the ladies from South Africa. We know that South Africa has presented the DNR this year. We were just commenting yesterday. Please share insights on how South African businesses are contributing to achieve the climate-related SDGs at country level.
Thank you very much, Daniela. And thank you to our hosts as well, to all the ambassadors and our speakers. this morning. So I'll speak from an aggregated private sector perspective, because as the UN Global Compact Network, we work with companies from a collective perspective. And so through the VNR, we work with several companies, over 70 companies, engaging through surveys, through deep conversations across many roundtables over 10 months, to come up with this very detailed report, and all of which have a look at it. It's a report of where we are as South Africa in terms of the private sector. And also it's an opportunity report, so really great for partnerships and collaboration as well. And so as our Ambassador Joini said earlier, in South Africa, the private sector delivers or thinks about moving to a low carbon economy through framework of the just transition. So it's important for us in South Africa to acknowledge the past, the legacy that we still succeed with, and our transition must be looked at through the lens of a just transition. How do we take care of jobs and people's livelihoods and small businesses and the entire spectrum? So through the VNR, we've done a ranking, and I'm specifically talking about climate. And the companies rank their work on climate very, very highly. If you look at the 17 SDGs, they rank SDG 8 as number 1. That is where they see themselves having the greatest leverage and influence. And climate is ranked high at number 2. And so South African CEOs want to put a lot more emphasis on what that means for their business. How do they, as the private sector, transition to a low carbon economy and act on climate? A previous survey indicates that a big chunk of South African CEOs prioritize their own footprint, but also scope 3. So a very great interest in supply chain and how to reduce scope 3 emissions. How do we mitigate the carbon effect through the supply chains? Another great percentage of CEOs in South Africa are interested in investing in renewable energy. Another priority for CEOs in South Africa is that they are interested in moving to circular business. They want to do business in a circular way. And another great chunk of CEOs in South Africa say that they are interested and committed to nature conservation. So a very significant indication coming from the private sector that they are interested in acting on climate and climate-related issues. This report then gives us an indication of what needs to happen from a policy perspective for these things to happen. If we are going to transition to a low carbon economy, what must happen? And then it takes us to the policy landscape and signals this as an area of collaboration, especially with government and other stakeholders. And they've identified a few areas going forward where there'll need to be certain policy adjustments. And the private sector is saying, 1, let us modernize climate change and environmental policies to come to terms with the current requirements and the current times. The second policy area that the private sector is calling for is on innovation. Let us relook at our innovation policies so that they're aligned to what we want to do and where we want to go as a country. The third area of recommendation is to improve energy supply to improve rail and logistics. And these areas will support our economic growth. There's already significant work of collaboration in South Africa between the private sector and government that is going on in the area of logistics, rail, and energy supply. And so there's a very strong commitment, a very strong indication that the policies around renewables need to improve. The private sector is interested in becoming more water efficient. If you may know, South Africa is a water stressed country. We are also interested in looking at these policies around recycling. In concluding, I want to say that it's not just about the risks and the policy gaps that we want to tackle, the private sector in South Africa, but that this analysis also gives us indications of where the opportunities are. I think this is what is quite important. It's important for us as a country. It's important in our relationship with trading partners as well. And the report gives very clear pathways on where these opportunities are. Great opportunities on renewables, and that is closely linked to climate. Great opportunities in improving food security. Great opportunities in moving South Africa to a more gender equal society. And in this instance, in South Africa, the public sector has transformed a lot faster in terms of gender equality and left the private sector slightly behind. So for the private sector, massive opportunities to move gender equality forward. We have great opportunities in logistics, and the underlying word in this report is collaboration. And the private sector in that ranking of the SDGs has ranked SDG 17 at number 3, immediately coming after climate. So number 1, where they see the greatest influence is SDG 8, so then SDG 13 on climate, and then the third one is on partnerships. So a willingness to work together with others. And finally, Daniela, in the issue of the EU regulations, the CBAM, the carbon border, adjustment taxes. South African private sector are trying to understand how this then impacts the EU as our biggest market, but also what they need to do to be able to continue trading, but at the same time also thinking about what that means in the context of our foreign policy on operating within the just transition framework. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cheng. Very interesting, underlining again that the SDG 17 partnership of institution and business can really, and governments work together to scale ambition. So last but not least, our panelist is Antonio from Switzerland, Executive Director. As a final remark, in your perspective, which could be the role of country network of UN Global Compact in supporting UNGC business participants to adopt transformational governance, and how this approach can facilitate the advancement of the UNGC Forward Faster initiative? Over to you, Antonio.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Also greetings from Switzerland from my side. It's a pleasure to see Marco, Daniela, Sanda, and all the others with whom I was in contact and will be in contact. First of all, congratulations for your paper. I read through it today and I learned a lot. And the first consequence for me is, and that's probably also a message to Sanda and the team in New York, I think we have here a huge opportunity as local, as country networks to really push the approach of transformational governance within our country networks. I think it's a new form how we can implement our UN Global Compact management model and update it to the time we are now, with all the disruptions, with all the challenges we have heard right now. So for me, it's clear I will take your paper and will look what we can implement on a country level in our annual plannings and how we work with our businesses. That's the first one. And the second one for me is this approach helps the local networks really to reconsider how we are approaching our companies. This transformational governance approach, I really think that is an opportunity for us, country networks, to support the companies and to connect the companies mutually, as we also heard from several different examples from our participants. But let me give just one point, which for me is very, very crucial, and it comes out very strongly in the paper. I'm convinced that there will be no future without social justice, and the private sector plays a crucial role in that. One thing I'm really observing, and sometimes also with some preoccupation, is that under business sustainability is mostly seen green economy and climate change. And that is very limited, and it's the danger that we, especially in the North, are limiting our sustainability approaches always on these parts. And I think transformational governance makes the difference and shows exactly it's an overarching approach. Climate change is an important driver, but if we do not really create a political and economic global system where people can live in human dignity, climate change doesn't matter at the end. So it's this interconnection, and I like really the overarching approach we have in this paper. So that's my first observation. I think we as local network, as country networks, have to work on transformational governance much more in the coming years. That's the first one. And then forward faster, what was your question? I think it's an opportunity to take the Forward Faster initiative of Antonio Gutierrez and the Young Global Compact to make clear not only to our companies, but to a broader stakeholder community in our countries how important the role of the private sector is in this transformation of the economy. And we are under huge political pressures with a huge number of conflicts. So the importance and the responsibility of companies is even bigger. And that comes out very, very strongly in this paper. So I really recommend to all you present online or in the room who work with companies or work with governments, read that paper. It's really worth it because it gives a lot of information, but also a lot of things to think about. So to finish, I would say we as Young Global Compact should use the Forward Faster initiative to really introduce the transformational governance concept for our companies and work with them how we can concretely implement it. And we have a lot of practical examples also from companies in Italy especially, and maybe we add others on a global level, best practices like how we can do that in the near future. I stop here.
Thank you, Antonio. More than happy to work with your network on the issue, share more. And thank you to all the panelists for your fruitful insights. It has been a pleasure hearing your perspective. I now leave the floor with His Excellency Ambassador Maurizio Massari for the wrap-up and closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Daniela, for asking the floor and for your excellent moderation. I would now like to give the floor again to Mr. Frey and to the Special Envoy Revit for the final remarks. So, Mr. Frey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ambassador Massari, and to all the speakers who have enriched the event with their insight. From my side, I would like to underline just 3 closing remarks. First, our position paper and experiences shared by the companies of the Roundtable confirm that businesses are implementing at different levels of maturity the sustainability governance. But they still need guidance and support to adopt a truly transformational governance approach. Second, governance needs to be fully aligned with global climate global targets in order to tackle climate change challenges. Notions as science-based targets, net zero, and transition plans have to be embedded in the business models, and transformational governance could serve this objective. The starting point is rely on the top managers' commitment, CEOs, board of directors, and donors who believe in the value of sustainability are key to disseminate a culture of sustainability inside and outside the organization. Third, collective actions and multi-stakeholder partnerships are the only viable way to address climate change risks. Collaboration and dialogue with different stakeholders, as the one we have fostered today among governments, Global Compact Office and country networks from both North and South, can explore innovative solutions to achieve SDG 14 and other related SDGs, considering also the importance of the social dimension, as Antonio told before. Thank you. I turn to you, Ambassador Massari.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frey, and now I pass the floor to the Special Envoy and Secretary of State of European Affairs.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Massari. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to first thank the host, Italy, for organizing this important and timely event at the margins of the HLPF. Grazie mille. Thank you to all participants for your contributions and insights. Switzerland has been a long-standing supporter of the UN Global Compact. We have been providing support to the Secretariat since 2004, and we are currently preparing the next multi-year phase, which will include a specific focus on Africa. Switzerland supports the partnership of the Swiss local network. I'm very happy to hear Antonio with other local networks in developing countries. In addition, Switzerland is a very active member of the government group, which we chaired in 2000. Switzerland has been chairing also as a group of friends of the UN Global Compact and the informal vessel, support vessel in New York for several years. We are very happy that South Africa recently joined as co-chair. UN Global Compact looks back on a fantastic and successful journey that has made it the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative with over 23,000 members. With all development actors calling for a stronger role of the private sector in addressing global challenges and achieving the SDGs, we believe that UN Global Compact is in a unique position and its missions are more relevant than ever. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are faced with multiple crises. We all know them. We are off track to reaching most of the SDGs by 2030. This year's high-level political forum focused on, among other issues, on climate action, poverty reduction, food insecurity, strong institutions, and so on. All these goals need to be tackled together across sectors involving all actors. And ladies and gentlemen, however, during the panel discussions of last week and this year's, when I look at the delegations at the HLPF, I see very little presence and involvement of private sector experts. I think we need to change that in the future. Governments need to hear the voice of private sector directly. They need to hear from companies like we did it today in this circle, how important the SDG framework is until 2030 and also beyond. They need to hear about solutions. They need to hear about opportunities, not just risks. So at the event of today, we were able to share different views and perspectives, not only on how sustainability can become a paradigm and guiding business strategy and operation, but also how transformational governments can be enhanced, can enhance business capacity to respond to stakeholder expectations. This is so important to guide us towards net zero to phase out of fossil fuels, to ultimately have a just energy transition. We really need this voice more directly within the HLDR. So thank you again very much for organizing this event and for inviting me. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Marcus, and let me thank all of you for this very interesting discussion. In conclusion, I would like to thank the Secretary Barbaro, SG Ogambo, and Special Envoy Grebi, Ambassador Gaini, Chairman Frey, and his dedicated team, all the speakers in person and online for your participation and engagement. We all agree that in order to further the Agenda 2030 and the Paris Agreement, we need to scale up the synergies between public and private sector in a truly multi-stakeholder and whole of society approach. The private sector is in particular the actor best equipped to come up with innovative and sustainable solutions to tackle the financial, social, environmental challenges we face today. If you want to meet the 2030 agenda goals, innovation is key. Adopting a new mindset, develop new business models, develop disruptive technologies, we position companies to overcome market disruptions and pursue growth opportunities, while at the same time helping to reverse global warming and improve lives. The position paper launched today goes precisely in that direction. The discussion we just had showed the firm commitment and on participating private sector in playing its part from east to west, from north to south. And this does not come as a surprise. Speaking from my national perspective, I'm particularly proud that the Italian network of the UN Global Compact is one of the most active national networks, counting more than 500 members, soon 600 members. Promise, both big companies and small and medium-sized ones. From the government perspective, let me state that the strategies of our development cooperation are perfectly in line with the activities of the UN Global Compact, especially its recent focus on Africa. We attach great importance also to the dimension of good governance. Last May, as you might remember, we organized here in New York, together with DESA and INFLO, the SDG 16 high-level conference. Conference showed SDG 16 as a critical enabler of all sustainable development goals and is at the heart of what makes the 2030 agenda transformative. It enables synergies across the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development and provides a practical roadmap for tackling multiple global intersecting crises, including conflicts and climate change, and reinforcing confidence in public institutions. As our discussion just highlighted, the inclusion of the private sector in our effort institution to increase trust in the system, pool resources, and promote innovation. Let us continue to work, public and private sector together, in the coming weeks and months by aligning our actions in a coherent manner, the Summit of the Future, COP29, and in view also the next FFDs for in 2025 in Spain. Thank you very much for your participation and your attention. Thank you.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Marco, ciao.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye, Carrie. Fatima.